Palabras de la noche. Palabras con imagen. El análisis de los acontecimientos que influyen en nuestra vida con el periodista Francisco Durán Rosillo.
Durán Rosillo te saluda y los saluda a todos ustedes, su amiga María Celeste Raraz, para invitarlos a que se suscriban a mi canal de YouTube, María Celeste Raraz, tal como mi nombre, donde les informo todas las semanas sobre entrevistas que tienen un tema que ayuda a mejorarnos como personas y de paso son interesantes. Las pueden encontrar en mi canal de YouTube, así que los espero. Y se suscriben gratis.
La semana que ha concluido dio mucho de qué hablar en materia de imagen presidencial. Tanto que se ha producido una reacción en el mundo. Reconocidos presentadores de noticias de CNN como Fernando del Rincón y varios más, ya nuevamente han alzado la voz por la manera en que el presidente mexicano, que carece de mucha educación, pues está llevando al país a situaciones que están empobreciendo políticamente y afectando no a López Obrador. Todo esto está afectando al pueblo de México. Se los pongo en un plano rápido porque los videos que les voy a presentar son muy interesantes el día de hoy. López Obrador ya ha desmantelado su credibilidad en el gobierno, pero el lastre, la fuerza de tales palabras afecta a los mexicanos. Muchos mexicanos profesionistas están perdiendo oportunidades en el mundo por la falta de confianza en los funcionarios. Muchos gobiernos ya saben que Marcelo Ebrard ha repartido como estampas de Navidad, como tarjetas de Navidad, pasaportes y documentos apócrifos a los testaferros del gobierno, a los prestanombres, para que seamos claros. Y eso conlleva narcotraficantes, mucha gente que lava dinero y una afectación terrible. La cosa no está solamente ahí. La cosa es que el arreglo en lo oscurito que denunció Pompeyo, el exsecretario de Estado norteamericano en la administración Trump, de que Marcelo Ebrard y López le piden que sí, que México sea tercer país, pero que no se lo digan a nadie, ni a los mexicanos. Ahora, como lo van a ver en el video, México está a grado tal que en Tapachula, Chiapas, van a quitar las instalaciones de la feria y ya la Secretaría de Gobernación va a destinar todo eso a una estación migratoria. Y van a ser estaciones migratorias en todo el país, pero lamentablemente, lamentablemente a esos migrantes no los pone a trabajar el gobierno de México, no los hace productivos. Los ponen a trabajar y los explotan los carteles y son quienes se quedan con la ganancia. Claro, se la comparten con el gobierno de México. ¿Para qué nos hacemos? Pero el otro problema es que Estados Unidos está deportando 30,000 migrantes cada mes. ¿Y quiénes son? Los güeros, digo, con todo respeto, no son mensos. Ellos están deportando a venezolanos, cubanos, mexicanos, hondureños, salvadoreños, mexicanos que no trabajan, que andan de vagos, que andan en las pandillas y que no pagan impuestos. Esa es la gente que está deportando. Muchos piensan que ya al cruzar la frontera indocumentados, ahí como sea, el primo les deja vivir en un lugar ahí en el suelo, aunque sea, pero no consiguen trabajo. No importa, los carteles les dan trabajo vendiendo droga, ganan hasta más, haciendo menos. Pero tarde que temprano las autoridades los detienen y es a la gente que están deportando. Todo este complejo río de problemas que está generando López Obrador con su corrupción está llevando a México a un país que después de ser una economía, como le dicen los americanos, floreciente, estable, una economía sostenida, este señor la está llevando para abajo. Y si sigue dando problemas al Tratado de Libre Comercio, sigue aceptando migrantes sin deportarlos, está causando una clase parasitaria en México de vagos y pandilleros que ya a los mexicanos nos tiene hasta ya saben dónde y más abajo. Lo peor es que López les da ciudadanía, les da documentos para que voten. Y lo peor del caso es que los está metiendo a las Fuerzas Armadas y a las policías. Entonces la corrupción está creciendo. Pero toda esa situación, según los analistas, se le va a revertir a López Obrador porque él, por recibir la ayuda de Naciones Unidas y del gobierno norteamericano, que para distribuirla en países centroamericanos, el programa Haciendo Vida y tonterías que no es cierto, no funcionan, él lo que está haciendo es malversar el dinero. Hay mal que bien poniendo una estación migratoria que no va a funcionar, ni les van a dar de comer bien, ni los van a traer bien vestidos. Los migrantes, ellos por ellos mismos, con lo que se consiguen con los narcotraficantes y cruzando más gente, es como han estado logrando sobrevivir. Entonces, como lo van a ver en los videos, ya en Perú ya declaran persona no grata al presidente del vecino Colombia. Pese a que recientemente fue elegido, ya se han juntado miles y miles de personas a protestar y pedir que salga del gobierno. Gustavo Petro, el guerrillero, el narcotraficante, que es igual que López Obrador. Perú tiene en la cárcel a Pedro Castillo por traición a la patria y le pidió al embajador mexicano que saliera por la misma razón de injerencista. López Obrador y Marcelo Ebrard son unos injerencistas. ¿A dónde se meten? A los países donde no los dejan controlar su tráfico de drogas, su flujo de dinero, dólares lavados. Allí es, porque si se metieran para ayudar a los mexicanos a hacer un puente comercial que mejorara las relaciones, no, eso no lo hacen. Pero mucha gente me pregunta, ¿por qué seguido sacas videos de otro presidente y hablas tan bien de él que quisiéramos que así se hablara de López? Bueno, por principio de cuentas, les comento a quienes pues realmente no me conocen muy bien. Yo viajé por muchos países cubriendo noticias y es obvio que la situación está pues más palpable cuando la ves desde afuera, por la sencilla razón de que no te dejas influir, lo ves todo desde afuera, desde arriba un poco más claro, y te percatas que hay presidentes que han sacado a sus países de situaciones peores, escúchemelo, de las que está México, y los han sacado adelante. Y quiero que escuchen a esos presidentes latinoamericanos que han sabido dirigir sus economías, sus políticas, y que no han dejado que su país se hunda en un mar de corrupción y de enriquecimiento inexplicable. Y lo triste es que México, López Obrador no entiende. López Obrador quiere hacer las cosas a su manera, se aferra, como eso de no querer regresar la presidencia de la cuenca del Pacífico, que le toca a Perú, no la quiere entregar, y pues es obvio que el mundo se está dando cuenta que López pues cada vez obedece más a dictadores corruptos que a su mismo pueblo. Sí, les comento, pues yo cubrí la guerra de El Salvador, ahí me ven, estuve pues mucho tiempo, iba y venía en ocasiones, y yo pensaba que este país obviamente no iba a salir adelante de tanto problema que estaba teniendo. Por ejemplo, el puente El Oro que atraviesa el río Lempa, lo ven en la foto, fue derribado por la guerrilla, y yo dije, bueno, tiene ahí años, posiblemente no lo van a poder reparar. Y lo repararon, lo levantaron nuevamente. Ahí estoy yo en la foto platicando con guerrilleros. Los puentes en San Salvador, en la capital, tenían que ser vigilados por el ejército porque los dinamitaban, les ponían bombas y los derrumbaba la guerrilla. Entonces, son situaciones que honestamente a mí me hicieron pensar pues que no iba a haber ¿cómo le diré? Un desarrollo positivo. Yo llegué a pensar que El Salvador iba a caer pues básicamente en una encrucijada de pobreza, de atraso, de falta de oportunidades. Y sin embargo, su presidente actual está recibiendo ya propuestas del Banco Mundial de líneas de crédito para que su país progrese, mientras que paralelamente a López Obrador le están poniendo trabas y todo indica que le están tratando de cerrar líneas de crédito, precisamente por la falta de honestidad en su gobierno, y que no se ve ningún esfuerzo por salir adelante. No se ve ningún esfuerzo por mantener una línea de equilibrio en el desarrollo. Entonces, todo esto le está causando unos problemas a los mexicanos, a la gente, que no permite que ya veamos las situaciones de otra manera más que pesimista. Sí, y eso es lo que le pasa a Fernando del Rincón. Aquí estoy con los corresponsales y bueno, mi carrera en Centroamérica la recuerdo con mucho cariño y desarrollé muchas cosas y agradezco las oportunidades. Estaba buscando la foto donde entrevisto yo al presidente de El Salvador. Por ahí está en mis redes sociales. Lo que pasa es que es tanta información y tantas cosas que tengo y trabajé y tengo relaciones con tantas televisoras en el mundo, pues que obviamente luego voy a dar conferencias y se me traspapelan muchas cosas, entonces me disculpo. Luego les presento, pensé que tenía la publicación, una de tantas, cuando entrevisté a José Napoleón Duarte y entrevisté a Alfredo Cristiani, y bueno, una serie de personajes, a Jorge Villacorta, al Pollo Samayoa, líderes guerrilleros, Cienfuegos, tanta gente que entrevisté, pero obviamente a veces se acumulan tantas fotos, tantos documentos, que es difícil mantener control sobre todos, porque se te va, o sea, yo a veces ya con los cambios de país y de casa y de residencia, pues es difícil en ocasiones que tengas todo. Por ahí lo tengo y luego les prometo, a ver si está aquí la entrevista con Duarte. Yo fui mucho a cubrir notas a la frontera mexicana, a Centroamérica. No la tengo aquí, pero les prometo que algún día se las hallo y la pongo. Pero a donde voy es que básicamente todos estos periodistas mexicanos, muchos muy profesionales, que sí denuncian la verdad en el extranjero, están frustrados igual que yo. Y eso está deteriorando mucho la imagen de México en el mundo. Mientras que uno de los periodistas en inglés de la cadena Fox News, un periodista de apellido Carlson, que empezó en CNN, yo lo conocí hace muchos años, pero dejó CNN por su línea tan crítica. Su familia es una familia de empresarios. Ellos se dedican y son los mayores productores de pollo en Estados Unidos y en el mundo. Bueno, este hombre invita a su rancho porque Fox tiene un canal de noticias, o sea, la gente paga por verlo, no es el canal regular que está en Open Broadcast y que está en el cable o el satélite. Ellos tienen Fox Nation, que es un canal básicamente que pagas por ver, pay-per-view. Y Carson entrevistó en su rancho a Nayib Bukele, presidente de El Salvador, hace algunas semanas. Y en la entrevista me encantó porque ahí Nayib Bukele está traducida, conseguí una versión traducida con permiso de Fox Nation y del gobierno de El Salvador. Y aquí se demuestra la razón por la cual a mí me gusta mencionar a Nayib Bukele, porque en poco tiempo, casi paralelamente al gobierno de López, abre líneas de crédito para El Salvador y él trae un proyecto secreto que se llama Ciudad Industrial, cercano a las prisiones donde tiene tanto pandillero, y les piensa dar una oportunidad y los va a emplear en las prisiones. Fíjense qué proyecto tan interesante. O sea, está disciplinando, está reduciendo la violencia, el crimen, está acabando con las bandas y a la vez va a enseñar a trabajar a los vagos y los va a poner a trabajar. ¿Qué pasa en México? López los hace más vagos, dándoles dinero por no hacer nada más que ayudar a los carteles. No, la situación que está generando López Obrador en México está para llorar. Muchos mexicanos que ya visualizan 2 años más de López dicen que van a pasar porque ya la oposición aprobó pasar toda la estúpida ley electoral y ya no hay nada que defender. Entonces, Estados Unidos resuelve su problema temporalmente mandando 30,000 migrantes a México cada mes, pero López Obrador, en lugar de deportarlos, los va a tener ahí a ver qué se le antoja hacer con ellos para que voten por él. Esa es la idea de todo. Pero la olla está hirviendo políticamente hablando y es una olla de presión. Y estos migrantes, recuerden que en El Salvador, en Nicaragua, en Venezuela, en Cuba, toda esa gente aprendió tácticas subversivas. Son gente que sabe hacer bombas, que sabe atacar, sabe usar armas. Cuidado, porque el ejército no va a proteger a los mexicanos. Hay mucha deserción en el ejército, la Marina y la Guardia Nacional. Entonces, el ejército está engrosado con pandilleros ahora. Y lo triste es que esos pandilleros van a defender a más pandilleros que están allí de vagos en México para que se apropien de edificios y casas como lo han hecho en Cuba, lo han hecho en Venezuela, lo han hecho en Nicaragua y tristemente el pueblo de México sufriendo cada vez más. Ya no les quiero decir más, vean la compilación de reportajes y videos y si estoy equivocado, díganmelo. Nayib Bukele se quiere llevar a El Salvador todas las ensambladoras de carros que existen en México. Yo hablé con gente de Chevrolet que dice que iniciando los carros eléctricos no se van a ensamblar en México. Van a cerrar Ramos Arizpe, van a cerrar Silao, y cuidado porque por ahí van todas. Prefieren irse a El Salvador o ensamblar en Estados Unidos. Y asunto arreglado. Pero usted juzgue por sí mismo. Gracias por su atención. No pierda los detalles de estos videos. Se lo suplico, porque quiero que usted reaccione a ver si, como dice Fernando del Rincón, a ver si así despiertan a que López Obrador se los está comiendo vivos.
Soy López Obrador. Hablar desde la ignorancia, con una desfachatez injerencista asquerosa, es una vergüenza. Tener que escuchar los absurdos de Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Es un injerencista rapaz, Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Cínico y descarado, donde nos deja, ¿qué le puedo decir? El peor de los conceptos. Si usted quiere recibir delincuentes y golpistas en el país, le recomiendo algo. Váyase mucho a la, ¿cómo se llama su rancho? ¿Cómo se llama? Váyase para allá y recíbalos ahí. No tenemos por qué pasar estas vergüenzas internacionales. Andrés Manuel, generado gran controversia, crítica y molestia.
Poder Judicial, nosotros no hacemos persecución política, ni perseguimos hechos políticos. Creo que hay una errada apreciación que merece una debida evaluación por parte de México.
Fernando del Rincón se pronunció y explotó por la descarada injerencia en nuestro país y el escandaloso asilo que el presidente mexicano AMLO le dio hoy a Lilia Paredes para que escape a México y lo destruyó. Y en entrevista a la expresidenta del Poder Judicial, Elvia Barrios, tuvieron palabras demoledoras contra el presidente mexicano.
Vamos a estar hablando precisamente de Perú, sí, desde el ángulo interno, refiero a su país, y desde otro frente. Yo le voy a decir esto: cuando juega la selección mexicana en el Mundial y tienen un muy mal desempeño, hay muchos mexicanos que lloran porque le fue mal a la selección mexicana, drama real, llanto total, ¿no? Hay otros que se enojan, se molestan, ¿no? le llueve al director técnico al Tata, le caen encima en el aeropuerto, porque se sienten heridos en su mexicanidad, ¿no? En su patriotismo. Y cuando escuchan a Andrés Manuel López Obrador hablar desde la ignorancia, con una desfachatez injerencista asquerosa, ninguno de estos patriotas que mueren, lloran y se enojan por el fútbol dicen absolutamente nada. Cuando la vergüenza nacional es 1000 veces más grande que un partido de fútbol. ¿Con qué autoridad moral le puedo decir esto? Con la nacionalidad mexicana. Es una vergüenza tener que escuchar los absurdos de Andrés Manuel López Obrador, que además miente sobre su política no injerencista. Es un injerencista rapaz, Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Cínico y descarado. Es una injerencia ideológica. Pero nadie llora y nadie se ofende cuando nos dejan ante el mundo como una falsa democracia, donde nos deja, ¿qué le puedo decir? El peor de los conceptos como Estado ante el mundo. ¿Y por qué? Porque aquí no hay ninguna duda de que lo que ocurrió en el Perú fue un intento de golpe de Estado de Pedro Castillo, sin ningún fundamento. Y se lo explico a Andrés Manuel, se lo explico porque gracias a Dios sabemos mexicanos que estudiamos las cosas para abrir la boca. A usted le tienen que dar clases de política latinoamericana y de lo que ocurre, porque hablar desde la ignorancia como lo ha hecho hoy es vergonzoso y debería provocar el llanto y la vergüenza de los mexicanos a nivel mundial, porque nos ha dejado en el piso. Mire, Andrés Manuel, usted le quiere dar asilo a una persona que intentó dar un golpe de Estado sin ninguna justificación, disolviendo el Congreso del país, rompiendo el orden democrático y el orden constitucional. Le explico un poquito más, a ver si sabe por lo menos qué es la cuestión de confianza. Una cuestión de confianza que no le fue negada, sino que fue desechada. Esa cuestión de confianza, al no ser negada y ser desechada, no le daba poder ni autoridad para poder disolver al Congreso. Es decir, lo que hizo no tenía ningún sustento legal, constitucional o democrático. Pedro Castillo acumula una decena de denuncias de corrupción en su contra que están siendo investigadas por el aparato judicial. Y encima de eso, trató de hacerse con el poder de una forma dictatorial, esperando el apoyo de la Fuerza Armada, disolviendo el Congreso. Manuel, si usted quiere recibir delincuentes y golpistas en el país, le recomiendo algo. Váyase mucho a la, ¿cómo se llama su rancho? ¿Cómo se llama? Váyase para allá y recíbalos ahí. No tenemos por qué pasar estas vergüenzas internacionales. Andrés Manuel, ámbito de emociones, desde Perú se ha generado una intensa reacción, una gran molestia en contra del gobierno de Andrés Manuel López Obrador, a tal grado que se ha declarado persona non grata a Pablo Monroy, embajador de México en Perú, 72 horas para que se vaya del país. Por cierto, el canciller Marcelo Ebrard, secretario de Relaciones Exteriores, reacciona hace tan solo unos minutos en su cuenta de Twitter sobre esto. Dice Marcelo Ebrard, se lo voy a leer porque me acaba de llegar el tweet. Me informa Pablo Monroy, embajador en Lima, que el gobierno de Perú le ha picado 72 horas para salir del país. Encuentro esa decisión infundada y reprobable, dice Marcelo Ebrard, secretario de Relaciones Exteriores de México. La conducta de nuestro embajador estaba pegada a derecho y dice al principio de no intervención. México no variará su posición, dice Marcelo Ebrard. ¿Qué fue lo que pasó que detonó esto? Bueno, el gobierno mexicano le da asilo a la ex primera dama del Perú, la esposa del expresidente Pedro Castillo, y a sus hijos, Olivia Paredes.
Welcome to Tucker Carlson Today. We live in a moment in history where a lot of people genuinely and sincerely despise their own leaders. They don't trust them. They don't believe their leaders are acting on their behalf. They don't think their leaders are competent. They don't think their leaders are decent people. Virtually all of the developed world is still purportedly democratic, but you will look a long time to find a president of any country who has overwhelming support from his own voters. That's just true. It's very odd if you think about it. So we thought it might be interesting to speak to someone who is no exaggeration, the single most popular democratically elected president of any country in the world, by far. A man who enjoys support from his population, measured outside sources, in the high 80s to the 90%. That's how much support he has. Contrast that with our own president, whose support hovers in the mid-30s. But Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, is overwhelmingly popular. Why is that exactly? Well, he's agreed to spend the next hour telling us, and we're honored to have him join us in studio. President Bukele, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Tucker, for having me.
So I'm going to just ask you the obvious question, why you're so popular, but let me just give you one guess that I thought we had dinner last night until 1 in the morning here in our barn, and I was talking to our producers after the dinner, and you're not the first head of state that we've talked to or had dinner with. You talked less about yourself than any politician I think I've ever eaten with. So I don't know if that was a pose. You kept it going for like 5 hours, which was impressive. Maybe because you don't make it all about you. Maybe that's one of the reasons you're so popular.
I don't know. Probably if we have talked about me for 5 hours, it would be very boring, or we have cut short the dinner probably.
Well, politicians talk about themselves endlessly.
Yeah, that's why.
They're never bored by it.
Yeah, they never bore themselves, but they probably bore everybody else. So, you know.
It's interesting.
We really kept it going because we talked some, not only me, but we talked about very interesting issues regarding the world.
And interested in them. You weren't.
Of course, because, you know, civilization is in a very important moment in history.
Yes.
Human civilization, of course, and you know, it's very interesting to talk about it and to think about it. And every country and every society in the world is part of this human civilization, and you know, the path that every micro society takes into that civilization, it has to do a lot with our understanding of it. So I think it's important to talk about it and discuss it, and to understand it a little, more so than talking about, you know, politics or...
Yeah, you didn't even, for a political leader, you didn't even mention politics, which I thought was very, very interesting and said something very good about you. But I'm going to assume that you're so popular because you've improved your country.
Yes.
That's why leaders are popular.
I mean, that's the main thing a politician should do.
Yes.
Is work, right?
Yeah, of course. And I've been to El Salvador 3 times in my life, twice while you were president, and I've seen that you have improved it. We did a whole documentary on how you reduced the crime rate in El Salvador from the highest murder rate in the world, pretty much, to one of the lowest. But I wonder, just big picture for a second, how do you, as the head of state, measure the health of a country?
Well, I would think there's indicators that will measure the health of a country. The World Bank and IMF and the UN and international organizations will measure the health of a country based on, you know, GDP or economic output, or they will use this types of measurements that are, you know, they're totally fake, because they don't really measure if a country is doing good or is doing bad.
Yes. They're fake.
Yeah, they're fake. Yeah.
How is GDP fake?
Oh well, if we're two guys here, and I say, hey Tucker, I'll pay you $1,000 if you drink this glass of water, right? And you say, okay, sure. And you drink it, I pay you $1,000, and then you say, hey, I'll pay you $1,000 if you drink my glass of water. So I drink your glass of water, and you pay me $1,000. So basically, nobody's any richer. I just got the same $1,000 I gave you in the first place, so we just drank 2 glasses of water. But according to GDP, you just increased GDP by $2,000, and you created 2 jobs. Right? So you just, and really, if you report that to the IRS, you just created 2 jobs, 2 $1,000 jobs of drinking water people, and we increased economic output by $2,000 by creating a service that's drinking your water service in twice. So, and that established with a value of $1,000, because the market value is $1,000. So I paid I pay you $1,000 for it, and you pay me $1,000 for it. So of course this is it's an exaggeration, although it would be measured like that if you report it to the IRS. But it just portrays how these indicators don't really measure the health of a society, and common sense issues that you would think it would measure the health of a society, they don't measure them anymore, or they do measure them, but they don't, it's not in the top column. It's just, just like an extra factor. But it doesn't really make any sense, because what really people want is, to be good, to be with their family, to be safe, and those things aren't measured anymore. So you would think that that those indicators would be of great value, and they have some value, but they're mostly fake, and they don't really represent the health of a society.
So I think that's very wise, and also there's quite a bit of pressure on heads of state to play along with fake measurements, correct?
Yes,
there's lots of international.
I mean, we have to play along with them, too. Of course, but everybody does.
But as someone who runs a country, how do you personally measure the health of your own country?
Well, we have the current measurements that I just said they just told you they're fake, but we still measure them. We have to, and because international organizations will base their predictions about the country with those measurements. But you have other measurements which I think are more important, like, for example, safety.
Yeah.
Or crime rate, or homeless rate, or jobs, or inflation, or what about the important values of society? How are they doing?
Yes.
For example, right now the whole world economic system is trying to destroy some of the values that are more important to human beings, and not only to human beings morally, but financially. For example, savings. Savings will be a very important economic measurement, right? I mean, it's very important, supposedly it's very important for people to save money, right? If you earn $10,000, you should spend $8,000 and save $2,000.
Yes.
Instead of the opposite, right? Spend $12,000 and $2,000. But right now, the concept of savings has been destroyed, because it doesn't make any sense to save money anymore. Because if you save money, let's say if you're in the 80s and you saved $50,000, which you could buy a house with at that time, and right now with $50,000 you can maybe change the floor. Yeah. So if you saved $50,000, then you have been robbed of 90% of your money now, because you could probably buy a house in the 80s that was maybe worth $600,000, $700,000 right now. So you were robbed of your money, and by the system, with devaluation, with inflation,
yes,
with printing more money, with no, they say the Federal Reserve is nothing federal and has no reserves, right? So they do print more money, and they rob you from your wealth and from your savings, and that's immoral. But it's not only immoral, but it also destroys some basic economic principles, like, for example, saving, or your pension. I would guess you're very fluent in the American dream.
Yes.
You work hard. You can buy a home, send your kids to college, and have a good retirement. But now, if you save for retirement and you saved all your life, maybe for 40 years working, now you come into age and say, well, now my savings are not enough to sustain me, and that's because you were robbed. So, and you were legally robbed. So then those types of measurements, which are not only not measured anymore, but are also being destroyed, the fundamentals of them. So it's hard to try to fix a society where the system itself is trying to destroy the basic fundamentals that make a society successful. And you would guess what's the purpose on it. I really don't know, but I don't have any proof of their intent, but it's very clear, and there's proof of what they are doing.
So, obviously you're opposed to crime.
Yes.
You've been very tough on it. You lowered the crime rates in El Salvador. So no one's excusing crime. On the other hand, if I walk into a liquor store or a bodega and hold it up with a gun and steal $3,000, I go to jail, and I should.
Yeah.
But if I devalue the U.S. currency and make old people penniless at scale, I don't go to jail.
No, you don't. It's like, imagine if you go, let's portray a movie example, like a bank robbery, right? This guys go into a bank, they go in with guns, they steal all the money in the bank, the whole vault. I mean, they open the vault, they get all the money within the vault, they take it, they don't leave a penny in the bank. So you will say, oh, this bank robbers, they robbed the bank, right? But you know, a bank, I mean, any bank will have, I don't know, let's say $500 billion, one bank, right?
Yes.
They can have $500
total assets.
Yeah, total assets, $500 billion. Now, they are only required to keep $50 billion in assets, in liquidity.
Yes.
The rest can be, you know, in loans, real estate. They can have the other money invested, right?
Yes.
Mostly in loans to their clients. So the bank only has 10% liquidity, which is $50 billion. Now, out of those $50 billion, 90% of it, it's online. I mean, it's zeros in a screen.
Yes.
It's not really cash, right?
Yes.
Bills and coins. So you would think maybe, you know, 10% of those 50 billion, they have it in cash.
Yes.
That would be a lot, but let's say they have 10% in cash, in bills and coins. So that would be 5 billion. But if this, you know, this huge bank has, let's say, you know, 200 branches. So they have, you know, offices all over, you know, in Florida, New York, in California. They have branches all over. So they will have, what, 2.5 million? Oh, that would be, yeah, like 500 billion, 50 billion in assets, 5 billion in cash, and then divided by 200, that would be 5 times 5, that would be like 25 million per bolt.
Yeah.
But that would be 10% of 10%, that would be 1%, and then this will be like 0.1% of 1%. That would be the equivalent of the bank robbers,
Yes.
the bank robbers took. So they would take 0.1% of 1%. Let aside that they would have insurance and they would get all the money back.
Is basically the same as the perspective of the Salvadoran media, as the Dutch media. It's like all media seem to have the same worldview.
Yes, because it's a franchise. It's like McDonald's or Burger King or Pizza Hut. So you have, you know, headquarters and then you have franchises. So the media, most of the media, of course not you, but most of the media, they will work like franchises. So if they print something in the New York Times, let's say, you know, something about, you know, the war in Ukraine. So they will print something in the New York Times, but it's the same thing you'll find in Mexico, it's the same thing you'll read in Brazil, it's the same thing you'll read in Argentina, it's the same thing you'll read in Africa, in, you know, in any country in Africa, in Europe, and it's the same thing. It's the same articles with some twitches, some, you know, different wording, different language, of course, but it's at the end it's the same line, the same narrative, the same propaganda, because they are franchises. So they will work as franchises. They will be real independent media, like you, for example. But they will, most of them, they're not independent. They just, you know, they have to be and respect the narrative, or they will be ousted from the group, and that's death for them, because they survive because they're in this worldwide franchise of the mainstream media, if we want to call it mainstream media.
So that suggests that like economic measurements, it's all kind of fake.
Well, you know, most publications will always be propaganda. That's what always happens. Not now. since the beginning of media.
Yes.
The concept of media, it's propaganda. That's the concept of it. Of course, like everything, you would have exceptions, but that's the concept. It's like, it's like the concept of pharmaceuticals is that you're sick, so they can cure you of your disease, right? If everybody is healthy, then there's no business in having a pharmaceutical company, right? Yeah. You need people to be sick. Yes. Right? That's the concept. Now, of course, there will be good pharmaceutical companies and good pharmacists. Of course, there's good people everywhere, there's bad people everywhere. But the whole concept, the notion of having, it's like, if you sell weapons, you need wars, right? Why would you sell tanks and missiles if you don't have wars where you can use tanks, right? You cannot use tanks to go and hunt deer, right? You have to use tanks to go into war. So you need wars so you can sell tanks. And so the concept of it is like that. So the concept of media is propaganda. That's the whole concept, to try to control the minds of most of the population with a narrative, with the official narrative. That's why you would see most of the media always goes with the same narrative and will try to outcast anybody that doesn't have the same narrative. Like they try to outcast you because you don't have the same narrative as,
That's true.
As the mainstream media has. That's why they hate you, because you have a lot of audience and you shouldn't. People are watching you, but you shouldn't. They shouldn't be watching you. They should be watching the mainstream media propaganda. That's the concept.
Yes.
So it has been like that since the beginning. But the difference today is that people are more interested in what's really happening. And we have social media now. So once you have something that's portrayed wrongfully into in the BBC, for example, before people watching the BBC, they just watch it. But now they will tape it with their phones, they will upload it to social media and say, look at this is fake. And people will it will become viral. And even if so social media starts to take down the videos and try to ban what the videos say, because it's an infringement of their policy or whatever. They try to control. Still, they try to control it, but it's very hard because people are hyper-connected, and that has bad things, of course, but it has a good thing. And the good thing is that it's very hard to sell lies to an entire population that is so interconnected that they will spot lies right away. It's like if you say, oh, there's a protest right now in, I don't know, Nigeria. And people in Nigeria will say, no, I'm here, and there's no protest here. It's very hard. Before it wouldn't be like that.
No, how would you know?
Yeah. People would just eat the propaganda. Now people will question the propaganda. They will ask if this is true, whether this is true or false. They will contrast it with other information that's probably other propaganda. But then you have two different propagandas. You will contrast them and see the differences. So that's part of the demise of mainstream media, is that not only technology has been giving people with millions of other options, but also people are saying, why would I pay for a content that is not worthy of my buck? I mean, why would I subscribe to read the Washington Post, for example, if I know it's pure propaganda? Why would I do that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense into a consumer's point of view.
Yes.
So that's why I just think that all mainstream media, it's on demise, and they know it. That's why they're so.
But I mean, what you're describing though is a technological reality that doesn't just undermine media, but government too.
Definitely, yeah.
Right. So how does this? I mean, that's a huge threat to government. I mean, I think most governments would rather let people have guns than free speech. Free speech is a real threat to them.
Well, that's why they hate free speech.
Yes.
One of the things that is, one of the things that gets in the way of their plans and their, what they want to do with the world and with the U.S. in particular, is the U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution is very well written, and you would think these guys that wrote it They were very, very smart and forward-thinking.
Yes.
And when I say forward-thinking, it's not like we are talking about 5 years from now.
Yeah.
They were talking about 200 years, 250 years from when they wrote it. I mean, they're probably more than geniuses. And I'm talking,
Yes.
and the concept of strict free speech, even though, of course, the definition of free speech is that a lot of that speech, you're not going to like it. That's the whole definition of it, right?
Right.
But the problem is that now with social media and with hyperconnectivity and everybody having a voice, now they want to ban free speech because now they can't control the narrative like they did before. So now they want to ban free speech, and you have world leaders come up to stage in the UN or everywhere, and they would say, "Oh, to protect free speech, we must censor some free speech so we can protect the rest of the free speech." Yeah, I'm not making this up. I'm summarizing what they said. So you would think these Western leaders of democracies, they would be promoting free speech like they did 50 years ago, but they're not promoting it anymore. And you would have people, you would have presidents being banned from social media right here in the United States.
I know.
While they are sitting presidents. I mean, just imagine the concept of banning, even if you don't like what he's saying, that's the whole point.
Doesn't matter, right?
Doesn't matter. In fact, it matters. You must, the true test, if it's you will allow the free speech of someone you don't like, saying something you don't like. That's the whole, that's the proof, right? So, but just thinking of the concept of banning the free speech of a president, of a sitting president of the most powerful country in the world, shows you that the real powers now are way above the U.S. government power.
Yes.
So the guy, he's not in charge anymore, but the guy that was in charge of the U.S. government wasn't able to speak because he was banned from all platforms and social media platforms, of course. And that happens while he was a sitting president. So that will tell you about how scared they are about free speech. They hate it. They hate free speech. They hate the Second Amendment, for example, because how can you control so heavily armed population, right? So I mean, the Constitution, it's the U.S. Constitution. It's between them and their plans, but they are acquiring a lot of power that it's supranational. So the U.S. Constitution, it's a national thing. So since their powers are supranational, let's say Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, their powers are supranational. They don't have to abide by the U.S. Constitution. They do whatever they want. So these are not the owners of the world. These are just just operators of some businesses. So this will give you like a hint of the size of the power that it's behind the things that you're seeing happening here in the U.S. or all over the world, things that don't make any sense for citizens, for families, for the country, for the well-being of human beings, for liberty, but for democracy, for free speech, for your real and basic human rights. But it makes a lot of sense for them.
So it sounds like if the leaders of individual countries are making decisions that are not in the interest of those countries, they hurt the countries they lead, that maybe their greater interest is in something beyond their countries.
Yes, definitely. Definitely, yeah.
I don't see another rational explanation for that.
Yeah, it's the only rational explanation. And that's why I tweeted one time that the USA is too powerful to be destroyed from the outside. Actually, geographically, nobody can invade the U.S., the United States. Nobody. I mean, even if huge armies will collude and want to attack the U.S. It's impossible. I mean, you have to cross all the ocean, all the Pacific Ocean and all the Atlantic Ocean just to get to the shore. I mean, it's impossible, right? And the U.S. has military bases, so it's impossible. So the only way the U.S. can fail, and this is not my my analysis. This was made by presidents before, by U.S. presidents before. The demise of the U.S. has to come from within. Right? The enemies have to be inside, not really outside. No external enemy can cause so much damage as internal. It's an internal operation. When you're watching internal operations here, you can see them in cities that were pristinely beautiful 30 years ago are wastelands right now. You would see people, I mean, I'm from El Salvador, a third world country in Central America, and myself, I can see cities here and say, I wouldn't live here. So that would be unthinkable 3 decades ago. Totally unthinkable. That a Salvadoran wouldn't want to live in a U.S. city, in a U.S. main city. I mean, Los Angeles, San
New York,
Francisco,
Chicago, yeah.
Well, Philadelphia, Baltimore. When you look how the cities are eroding so fast, this has to be by design. I mean, who would make so many stupid decisions? Like, okay, we're gonna give you money for drugs. Really, they're doing that. In some cities, they're giving people drugs. I mean, they're literally giving people drugs in some U.S. cities. Or they say, okay, we're gonna give you money if you don't work. Or we're gonna, they make all of these laws that make no sense. Or if they have a high crime, okay, I have a solution. Let's defund the police, right? They make this analysis here. And you see all these campaigns, defund the police. You will see these campaigns of, let's allow shoplifting up to this amount. They make these decisions openly. I mean, it's not even a secret. They make it. They make them openly. And we all know what would be the consequence of it. It's like, I always use this example. I know the U.S. Grows a lot of corn, but in El Salvador we do grow some corn and we also grow beans. So I always make the example that you can either plant corn or you can plant beans. It's fine, but you cannot plant corn and expect beans to show up, or you cannot plant beans and expect corn to show up. So if you plant a defunding of the police, allow for shoplifting, give drugs to drug addicts, give money for people to stop work, what would be the consequence of it? You will destroy the society, you will destroy the city, you will destroy the economy. And it's not only a logical thing to think, it's already happening. And when they see more problems, they say, oh, so we need more of the same solutions that caused these problems in the first place. And they enact more of them. So they have more problems. And they enact more of the same solutions that cause those problems. They have more problems. So you would think these people, they can be so dumb. Of course they're not. They're smart. They're very smart people. So why are they doing these things? Because it's by design. It has to be by design. There's no other logical explanation.
Certainly defund the police and giving drugs to drug addicts. I mean, you're trying to destroy things.
Yeah.
But there's no other explanation. But why?
Because, I don't know why. I mean, there's some things I know because they're there, like what we just spoke about. And
yes.
It's not like, it's not private or secret information. Everybody that wants to know, he knows because it's there, it's public, it's verifiable, people can look it up. So if you ask me why, that I don't know, because it's not public, it's not verifiable. You cannot just look it up. So I don't have an answer. I could make my guesses, but it would be an uneducated guess at best. So it's very hard to know why.
Some of this stuff seems like it's the result of generational affluence. I'll guess that. I mean, people stay rich long enough, they get decadent. I think we see that in families, we see it in countries. Your country's gotten a lot more prosperous. I mean, your country had this horrible civil war. Yeah. A huge percentage of your population left and came here in other countries, and now people are coming back. So your country's getting richer. Are you worried that these kinds of problems, this sort of social chaos, will come with the fact you're getting richer?
Well, no. I mean, yeah, I understand the concept of, hard times create strong people create good times create weak people create bad times.
Yes.
I understand the concept. I don't think it's that simple.
I guess to make the question a little more precise, there are NGOs, international agencies, governments that push these policies on weaker countries.
Yes, they are pushing it very hard.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you resist that?
By publicly resisting it. I mean,
publicly resist.
Yes, I mean they will try to push their agendas in our country as well, like every other country. And since we are a small, poor, relatively poor country, of course they can, their money is worth more, so they can, they can hire people. They can. But there's some stronger forces. For example, common sense. Most people, most politicians will think of their people as, having no common sense, or they have to shove their agendas down their throats just because they're in power. But that doesn't really work, does it? Because like you said at the beginning, there's almost no world leader that has the approval of his people.
No.
So it's not really working. But if you understand that your citizens, they have common sense, they're smart, they want smart, common sense, real solutions for their real problems, and not some agenda that they don't care about, or actually they don't want that agenda within, close to their lives. So when you go out and say, okay, we're not going to push this agenda because it's not in the benefit of our people, we're going to do this and we're going to do that because that's in the benefit of people. Do you agree? Yes, we agree. Okay, then we're going to do that. Some people will say, oh, but that's, you're standing against the NGOs and the international organizations. That's so brave. But I don't think it's brave. I just think it's common sense and understanding your people have common sense, and they want their leaders to have common sense. So they will support you standing up against those things and actually doing the things that they want you to do, and not the things that the NGOs want you to do because they don't want them. So I really think it's not that hard. If a leader really, or a politician, or a person in any position of government really wants to do the best for his people, he can do it. And you can find, I will not do examples because I don't want to meddle in U.S. politics, but there are examples in U.S. politics of people that want to do, they seem like they genuinely want to do the best for their people, and they're very well supported by their population, by their constituents.
So you didn't start life in politics. No. I don't think your family's political. You're from a business family. You were in business. You did a bunch of different things in business. And then you got elected mayor, I think, of your hometown?
Yeah, of my, not my hometown, but the town I live.
The town that you live in?
Yeah, I live in a small city in the outskirts of the capital.
Yeah.
It's called Nuevo I was mayor there first.
And then you're mayor of the capital city.
Then I ran for mayor of the capital. And then I was ousted by my party, which was one of the two main parties. We had a bipartisanship like in the States.
Yes.
We had a bipartisanship over there. I was ousted. I was kicked out from my party. And
for criticizing its leaders.
Yes, definitely. And we made a movement out of common folks. We got the signatures. We made a new party. We won the presidency in 2019 with 53% of the vote, which was considered, for us, it was a wow, because we just destroyed bipartisanship in the two-party system in El Salvador with a 53% of the vote. But now when you look back, actually 53% was only half the people. So yeah, we had enough support at the time. We thought it was a lot, but now we see it was only half. But we've been working ever since, and I know people seem to like what we're doing.
Well, yeah, you're the most popular elected leader in the world by far. You've had credible approval surveys putting you over 90%, which really only exists when you hold guns to people's heads. And you're not. So it's an amazing thing. What's surprised you about politics now that you're running a country? What were you shocked to learn?
The scale of corruption.
Yeah.
I would when I was a kid, I would watch politics in my country, of course, in other countries, in the U.S., in the world, and I always thought that Latin America, everybody knows Latin American countries are filled with corruption. It's like very corrupt.
Yes.
Political system. It has and not only Latin America. We saw the president of Afghanistan fleeing his country with a plane with $100 million in cash or something like that.
He had trouble getting off the tarmac.
Yeah, because he was carrying gold. He was carrying gold and diamonds.
Yeah.
So this politics in the third world, they're very corrupt. Everybody knows that. Latin America, Africa, some Asian countries, they're very, very corrupt. But I thought that the first world or the developed world, they didn't have corruption within their political system just because you have checks and balances.
Yes.
You will have investigative agencies that will go after. I mean, if a president flies in his plane with $100 million in cash, you won't see that in the States.
No
U.S. president has ever flown in a plane with $100 million in cash. I would bet. I mean, I don't know, but I would bet no U.S. president.
I would bet that too.
Yeah. So because so I thought, I said, once these third world countries achieve that level of purity in their, that's what I thought when I was a kid, a very innocent and naive person. I thought once our countries achieve that level of purity in their political systems, then these countries will be developed as well. But what I really found out is that the more money a country has, the more corrupt it is. Although, of course, its corruption is more sophisticated. They will not, carry money in a plane. They would do other things, book deals, speeches,
art.
Yes, they will. Yeah, they will sell paintings, or so it's more sophisticated, but it's higher. It's hundreds of millions of dollars in these things. Probably billions, of course, billions of dollars in these things. So you would see that weapon deals, pharmaceutical deals. I mean, you would think this billion, not $1 billion, but this $1 billion contracts, and for weapons, for pharmaceuticals, for mainstream media, for you name it, right? For everything, for nation building, for a lot of things, even mercenaries. I mean, this huge industries. They have two sides. There's the people in the private sector, and there's people in the in government. So the people in government must be getting their cut, and their cut should be huge. And we just mentioned a couple is what we can see, but of course there's the other that we can't see. And so once you learn that actually corruption is everywhere, it's not only in the third world countries, or not only in puppet presidents, but actually also in the puppeteers, and more so in the puppeteers. Of course, the puppet will get a smaller cut. That's why he takes the bags with the money, because it's his cut, right? Yeah. So he gets the smaller cut, then the other guy gets a bigger cut, then the bigger guy gets a bigger cut, then the biggest guy gets the biggest cut, right? So once you understand that most of the political system is corrupt, then you understand how you should behave in front of that corrupt system, knowing that, of course, you're not corrupt and you want to fight it, but you don't have the strength to fight it. But at least you can keep your people safe from it, and you can do the best you can from your work and try to stay safe. I think that's enough.
Can you stay? I mean, I wonder about that. I mean, I agree with everything you just said, and I grew up thinking that problems like corruption or political assassination, these are all features of Mexico.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think that anymore. But the fact remains, you are out of step, not on the small things, on the big things, like monetary policy, you know, what our economy should look like, and what democracy is. You're out of step with, you know, some of the biggest players in the West. So does that make you concerned at all?
Yes, it does. But, you know, I think part of it staying safe. I mean, we never know. God knows. I mean, what will happen. But part of it staying safe, it's come out in public and say the things.
Yes.
It's, you know, it's harder. I mean, they have done it before with a lot more important people, so they can do it, of course. But, you know, they have many enemies, not one. They have a lot of people calling these things out. You know, they have been censoring all of these people because it's easier to censor than just go and eliminate every, you know, person saying bad things about them. It's too hard. They cannot, you know. So a part of staying safe, I think, is going public, being transparent, and being, you know, say the things that you know and you want to say, and that you think that they must be said. And I mean, they haven't done anything to you, and that's because, you know, you're saying the things you want to say, and it would be too expensive for them. It's cheaper for them to smear you, to say bad things about you, to have people think that you're a bad person, which you're not. But it's easier for them to do those things. Go and straight and eliminate you. That would be, you know, too messy, and it would probably be against their own plans. So I really think one way to stay safe is being true to yourself and saying the things out loud, so people can, you know, listen to them, make their own decisions about it, and know what you stand for. So it would be a little more expensive for them to eliminate all opposition in front.
You have to kill a lot of people.
Exactly.
Last obvious question, but since we do have so many Salvadorans living in this country, how many Salvadorans live in the U.S., do you think?
2.5 million.
2.5 million. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And they, at least according to the polls, agree with you.
Yes.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Like, how did we miss that? How do we miss that all these, at least speaking for myself, I agree with you. So I didn't realize that we had millions of Salvadorans here, legally and illegally, who agree with you and me. Like, when did that happen?
Well, I think, you know, there are things that probably some Salvadorans won't agree with you or me.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's fundamental human values that are universal. And there's a reason why they are universal. If you're a believer, you would say God. I would say God myself. If you're not a believer, you would say nature, the universe, you know, the order of things. So there are things that are universal. And these concepts that are logical, universal, they have been like that for all of civilization. There's a huge, I mean, the system or the ones in power, they want to change that. They want to change these universal concepts that are very strong within everybody. So even though, you know, a Catholic might think different than an evangelical Christian, for example, they will have some of the same principles within themselves. You know, like, you know, you pay your debts, you take care of your neighbor, you care for your family, you protect your family, you know, you raise your kids. There's some fundamental values that are very important. You protect your wealth, your saving is good. You know, we can go on for hours.
Yeah.
You know, there's very fundamental values, like stealing is bad, killing is bad, you know, raping a child is bad, but there's even movements about that. So with those fundamental values that are so dear to most of the people in the world being under attack by the elites, a lot of people are saying, hey, this guy, he's in a very good position, but he's not a member of the elites. Actually, the elites hate him, your case, right? And he's saying the truth. He's saying the things I believe are true. So I agree with him. So sometimes you would find support or people that agree with you in places you don't expect it, just because we're all human beings and we all have the same values.
Amen. Mr. President, thank you for spending all this time with us.
Thank you, Tucker.
And what a way to end. I appreciate it.
¿Cómo están? Muy buenas tardes. Vine rapidísimo para mostrarles esta entrada de lo que es las instalaciones donde hacen la feria de Tapachula. Toda esta zona, de hecho están quitando este templete que aquí dieron el anuncio las autoridades para decir lo que van a hacer, ¿no? Entonces esta zona, bueno, 7 hectáreas de este terreno lo oficializaron que lo van a utilizar para construir un albergue para migrantes que supuestamente va a costar 16 millones de pesos y que quien va a administrar ese recurso va a ser ACNUR, ¿no? De la ONU. Entonces, pues primero, me imagino que primero van a hacer la feria, o sea, aquí la van a llevar a cabo el 2-3 de marzo, creo. Y sí, ahí tuvieron una reunión de gobernación, miren, con Secretaría de Gobernación. Obviamente no llamaron a prensa, no convocaron ni dejaron entrar a prensa, en donde anunciaron eso. ¿Qué es lo que va a pasar? Pues claro, ya habíamos dicho, el gobierno necesita hacer un albergue, pero necesita sobre todo hacer un corredor migratorio. Corredor migratorio entendemos que tiene que ser un proyecto interdisciplinario en el cual se tomen en cuenta necesidades, potencialidades, la situación económica y social, tanto de los migrantes como de esta población. ¿Por qué? Porque obviamente que una carga de 30,000 migrantes que son, ahorita en Tapachula hay unos 40,000 migrantes y vienen en camino otros 30,000. Pero además de Estados Unidos, mes a mes están deportando 30,000 migrantes cada mes. Ese fue el acuerdo al que le doblaron los deditos a México para decir que sí. Y el presidente López Obrador no tuvo más que decir, no, está muy bien, perfecto, que lo hagan, ¿no? Entonces, como es una situación que no va a cambiar, pues entonces México lo que necesita hacer es un verdadero corredor migratorio en el cual pues a esta gente se les ocupe, porque son mano de obra, ¿no? Si ya no van a llegar a Estados Unidos, o si sus trámites para Estados Unidos van a ser más filtrados y van a estar más depurados, porque no van a entrar todos, entonces pues muchos se van a quedar en México. Pero México debemos de obligar a las autoridades para que también obligue a los gobiernos de donde provienen estas personas, pues que tienen que cooperar para su manutención y que eventualmente pues tienen que generar las condiciones para que esas personas regresen a sus países. Porque aquí no hay ningún trámite disuasorio, no hay ninguna información en la cual le digan a la gente, ¿saben qué? No vengan. Estados Unidos, ¿qué fue lo que hizo? Ya puso su muro de hierro y ya dijo, y al contrario, los que están dentro, de mucha gente que está dentro, los están sacando, porque ya no quieren recibir más migrantes o quieren hacer que supuestamente que su trámite sea organizado desde mucho antes. ¿Ustedes cómo ven? Los migrantes son una carga, son en sí una potencialidad económica, pero también son una carga, se vuelve una carga social, pues por la cantidad de de bienes y de servicios que consumen, ¿verdad? Y si este gobierno no pone orden, pues hacen lo que se les pega la gana, y ya vemos a muchos de ellos que están generando ruido, haciendo sus desmanes, involucrándose en venta de droga, ya traen carros, traen motos, y tú dices, bueno, si tú eres un migrante, pues el gobierno, para expedirte una licencia, te tiene que haber un protocolo, tiene que haber un trámite, ¿no? Y tienes que conocer el terreno en el que pisas. Pero por lo menos he escuchado y he visto que muchos de esos migrantes se dedican a hacer cosas que no son lícitas y a afectar a los vecinos y afectar a los ciudadanos. Y no tenemos quien nos defienda de ellos, y no tenemos un protocolo de que, bueno, pues hay que aplicar la Constitución, que dice que los migrantes que están causando perjuicio, que se vayan deportados. No tenemos del gobierno mexicano, nada más se hacen los locos, hacen operativos, se los llevan como animalitos, los llevan de aquí, de este corral, los traen a este corral, los traen para acá y los traen para allá, pero no hacen medidas efectivas en los que a cada persona se les estudie y se les diga, tú te me vas, pero a tu país, y allá que te metan a la cárcel, te vas con cargos de una vez por lo que estás cometiendo, ¿no? No lo vemos. Bueno, estimados amigos, muchísimas gracias, que estén muy bien, buenas tardes, compartan este.
Durán Rosillo te saluda y los saluda a todos ustedes, su amiga María Celeste Raraz, para invitarlos a que se suscriban a mi canal de YouTube, María Celeste Raraz, tal como mi nombre, donde les informo todas las semanas sobre entrevistas que tienen un tema que ayuda a mejorarnos como personas y de paso son interesantes. Las pueden encontrar en mi canal de YouTube, así que los espero. Y se suscriben gratis.
Escuchaste el análisis de la noticia, transparente como el agua, con el periodista Francisco Durán Rosillo.